In this video, I want to talk about two aspects of higher-end digital cameras, well, even medium-range cameras, even some point-and-shoots have these options we're going to talk about, and those two are going to be the frame rate, how many pictures does your camera take when you hold down the shutter at one time, and also where is your camera focusing. Extremely important aspect. So the first thing, we're going to talk about frame rate, and that's very simple. If I adjust my settings here so I can get a high shutter speed, this is a mediocre shutter speed right here. I adjust some things here. We're going to speed that up here a little bit. So at 1/30th of a second with this camera setting, I can take up to 8 frames a second in speed. So if you listen to that, extremely fast. Now, that's a great option for me to have if I'm shooting wildlife. I don't want to guess at just that 1 second, because you're going to miss it every single time. Maybe you get lucky 1 in 100, but I don't want to get lucky once in 100. I want to get lucky once in 50. I want to improve my chances. So having a higher frame rate is a great option. So on many digital cameras, you look for this logo here. On the Nikons, I can usually adjust it up here on the top. I can set it, that was a high setting. This is a medium setting. This is just 4 frames a second. So it gets a lot slower. Compare that to your 8 frames a second. Big difference. And there's also generally a single frame shot, and every time I hold the shutter I only get 1 picture. So that's an important aspect to remember. If you're trying to shoot wildlife, you want to have as high as a frame rate as you possibly can get, so that you take one moment, you capture it at the speed you want, and you're getting the best chance of getting the shot. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to throw away a lot of pictures. Maybe they're not making the right eye contact. Maybe they're just not being what you want. And that's one thing to remember. So adjusting your frames per second is a pretty important aspect to remember with digital cameras. So the next thing I want to talk about is adjusting your focal point. What's great about that is I can move here and I can change where my camera is going to focus. This grid right here shows all 51 points that my Nikon D300 can focus on. So generally, putting something in the middle and focusing in the middle is the most boring thing on earth. Generally, you want to focus something off to the right or to the left, maybe the top or bottom. And what's great about digital cameras, especially medium and higher range digital cameras, is you get a lot of focus point options. Some cameras are only going to maybe have 5, maybe some only have 1. But a lot of digital cameras are moving up from 5 to 9 to 11, and sometimes up into the 40s and 50s. And that's what's great about these digital cameras. Maybe I want to focus over here, but the thing to remember is if we're looking at wildlife photography, I want to focus on the animal's eye. So if the animal is looking to the left, on the right side of the frame, I want to focus on his eye off to the right. That's where I want to focus. Maybe I've got something interesting down here on a landscape picture, like the rock. I want to focus close. Maybe I want to focus at a medium distance to get the best depth of field. And that's a great way to control it. So generally you tap your shutter and use either your thumb dial, there's a selector switch, but there's some way on your digital camera to adjust. On Canons, they have the thumb wheel here as well as a selector button. On a Nikon, you've got the thumb pad, and you can quickly bounce between. And what's great is I can be looking through the viewfinder, and in the viewfinder I see this exact same thing. I see 1 square. As I move my square around, that's where it's going to focus on. And that's extremely important. Another little quick autofocus element is right here. How many focus points am I going to use to take that picture? Right now I've got selected on 1, so it's only going to focus on that 1 exact point. If I move up to here, this is the dynamic area, so it's not only going to take the 1 I selected, but it's going to take the others right around it. And that's a great option, especially if I have moving targets, if I got action, or if I've got some sort of unpredictable moment that I don't know, or you can select them all. Selecting them all is maybe not the best option because it slows down your autofocus system. Generally, if you want action, you want to get just that split moment, and if you do that, you're generally going to be dealing with your camera processing things instead of just focusing right away. So shooting on dynamic or shooting on the single point is going to get you a faster focusing ability, but each button here and each selector allows for a different opportunity. And that's what these cameras have, all these different options. So you can take every option and use the best option in your situation. So learn more about your camera.